Have you ever thought that sometimes justice can be more odd than anything the script for the movie It's a Comedy? Picture the scene: a thief trying to run away with a toolbox, all the while thinking that you're escaping with impunity, and all of a sudden, everything turns into a kind of court of the nature, with frogs, and they, as judges and prosecutors. Looks like something from a dream, you know? But that's exactly what happened, late one afternoon, in Denver, Colorado, where the unexpected has turned into a routine, and the reality surpassed anything in narrative fiction. And the best thing is that you're going to see that, sometimes, the punishment comes as absurd as the comic. It seems to be impossible. Have you ever gone through something like this? Ever had that feeling that the universe decided to give you a lesson in a way that is totally different from what you thought it was? As it is, this is a story that I'm going to have to tell you now. It's just that, a lesson from nature, a lesson in karma, and that is what happened in a way that is so unexpected, that even those who enjoy humor trash will you laugh. And stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out now. You will be surprised from the truth. You'll understand that sometimes, a single action can set off a chain of events so bizarre, so full of humor and irony, it seems like a scenario from a cartoon. And it's the most curious thing is that it happened in a place that is common on a construction site, where the daily routine is turned into the scene of a real comedy, real life. So, get ready to immerse yourself in a story that blends horror, humor, and a dose of karma, which no one expected. Because, after all, nature has its own set of rules and, at the same time, she decides to judge the creativity that no one can imagine. And trust me, you'll never look at a situation from the day-to-day in the same way after listening to this story. Now, to understand what is really behind all of this, you need to go to the next step. Because of what happened on that piece of land, with the thief, and those judges are the most unusual in the world, is only the beginning of a story that will make you reflect, laugh, and think, that is, the justice of nature, is unpredictable, or is she just waiting for the right moment to strike? As they delve deeper into this narrative, it is clear that there is something that goes far beyond what our eyes can see on the surface. It is as if each and every detail to hide a greater meaning, a lesson that only comes into its own when you stop and look, and with an open heart. And it's not just about justice and punishment, but also about the connection that we have with the world around us, about how our actions, however small they may seem, can have an effect in ways that have not even imagined. Sometimes in life, we believe that these moments of quiet, almost invisible, and they carry immense power. It is that delicate dance between what is visible and what is hidden, what we find in a charming way, with an opportunity to reflect on our part in the great mosaic. And so, I say to you, I invite you to think about, what does this story tell you it made you feel? What are the thoughts it stirred up inside of you? Share it here in the comments, because every word, every feeling, and it contributes to our exchange. So true. Your experience doesn't matter, because it will help you to build a community that values honesty and mutual understanding. If this is a universe of thoughts that make sense to you, don't miss to enjoy this video. A simple action, that is, a way of showing that this message is heard and that we are all together on this journey of discovery. And, of course, if you want to continue to explore these themes with me, and if you sign up for the channel. Here, each and every step that we take is one way to strengthen this connection, and to spread our story for many more people. Right now, for us to go even deeper, there's something very important you need to understand. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the truth of it, is that, too often, we get so caught up in the business of day-to-day, in the search results, and in the external validation that we forget to look within ourselves and with the care and honesty that you deserve. And that's when it all began to change. Because, at the core, this is a journey of self-discovery is not about discovering something new out there. It's about to dig up things that had always been within us, hidden under the layers of conditioning, fear, and expectations imposed on the world. It's as if you're carrying a backpack full of stones, each one representing a question, a doubt, a belief, a limiter, or a wound that is not healed. It is only when we begin to take out, one by one, we begin to see with clarity who we really are, beyond all the things that we made believe that we were in. And in that discovery, the process of internal cleansing, and often painful. Because you need to have the courage to face the truths that we would rather hide than to confront the emotions that we consider to be undesirable, or unpleasant. But, at the same time, it's liberating. It's like opening a window is closed through the years, letting the cool air entering and allowing the light to light up every dark corner of our minds. When we begin to understand that our actions, our thoughts, and our feelings are a reflection of who we really are, we realize that many of our battles are external are, in fact, a reflection of inner conflict to be resolved. And there you have it. The big question then becomes, to what extent are we truly connected with our inner selves, or just living in a version of which has been shaped by outside influences? And it is this connection with our essence that is, without a doubt, one of the greatest missions in life. Because, when we find out who we are, in fact, we have gained a clarity that enables us to make choices that are more aligned with our purpose, what we really is to vibrate. It gives us joy, and gives us a sense of it. It is not a matter of perfection, and not to have all the answers, but rather to be aware of what resonates within each of us that causes our heart to beat more strongly, to who makes us feel alive. And when you do that, you start to realize that life does not consist of a sequence of obstacles and hardship, but an opportunity to constantly evolve, to learn, to reinvent ourselves. And that's all there is in a fact that a lot of times it's hidden behind all of this is the mask that we wear to protect us, the power that we need to create our own reality. Because everything we think, everything we feel, and everything we decided to bring on as the truth shapes the world around us. And when we begin to understand this dynamic, we see that we can, however, rewriting of our history, to change the script, which seemed to be already written, and is intended to be limited. This is a great amount of freedom that comes from self-knowledge to understand that we are the authors of our own lives, and that you have the pen in your hand, and you can choose from, each and every day, what are the chapters we write, what are the emotions that we want to nurture, what are the dreams we want to transform it into a reality. And that understanding brings a huge responsibility, because, when you realize that, our internal choice has an impact all around us, we are called to be more aware, more present, more intentional on what we feed it into our minds and in our hearts. It is not an easy task, nor a day, but it's a journey worth taking, because it leads to a true freedom, one that is not dependent on external circumstances, but it is born out of a deep alignment with who you truly are. And to understand this, we understand that the greatest strength is the courage to look within, to take our own shadows of our lamps, and to move forward with the certainty that each and every step, however small they may seem to you, it's an opportunity for more authentic, and the essence is pure, that which exists in the us. Right now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic. When you begin to understand this truth, and it all appears to unfold in a way that's more clear, more sincere, as if you were removing a curtain that was hiding in our very being. It's strange, sometimes, how the life leads us on a never-ending quest for something outside for the achievements, validation, recognition when, in fact, is the greatest treasure. He was always there, inside of us, waiting for us to have the courage to look at it carefully, with respect and with love. And it is this courage, it is a call to silent, so that we are free from the masks to the expectations of the outside, and immerse yourself in your own truth, afraid of what she might find. It is a process of breaking down ideas of back to the roots of the question that has been posed as a right, to make room for that which we are able to emerge, with no filters, no judgments. When you realize this is a journey, we can begin to understand that true transformation is not something that happens at one time or another, but it's a progression, a movement of mindful acceptance and auto-compasio. And then, there's the issue that's often overlooked. How are we dealing with in this way? As we are dealing with our own shadows, our doubts, our fears, our limitations? Because you are, in fact, it is during this confrontation, built-in, everything is revealed. Each of the shadow we each fear that we pretend doesn't exist, it's a piece of you that prevents you from our fulfillment to be revealed. And, at the same time, each of the light, that we acknowledged, each and every small victory to remain steadfast in the face of chaos, and this is a confirmation that we are on the right track. It's as if, when we accept our imperfections, we are creating a solid foundation for a built-in, which does not rely on the validation of the outside, but it is a recognition of the genuine to who you are, in fact. The great insight is that this is a journey of self-discovery is not just about finding out who you are, but, above all, to understand who we can become. And that requires a change in mindset, a shift away from limiting beliefs, and a willingness to rewrite our history from a perspective that is more loving and authentic. When we accept that everything that lives within us all has a purpose even in the most difficult emotions, we begin to see that they are there to teach us something, to help us improve. Not as the enemy but as an ally in the process of transformation. And, in it, we see that true freedom comes from within, and in alignment with their knowledge of our inner selves, that you are not dependent on external circumstances or of the opinions of others. Is it a freedom to be silent, which manifests itself in the peace of one who knows that you're being true to yourself, even in the midst of the chaos? On the basis of this understanding, it becomes easier to understand that our everyday decisions, however small it may seem, have a great potential for change. Every thought, every choice, every action is an opportunity to reaffirm our connection to the truth inside of you. It's as if, When we choose to love more, forgive more, accept more, we are feeding an invisible force that sustains us and guides us. And it is at the core of the US's more true that, often hidden behind layers of fear and insecurity. When we begin to recognize you in that space of authenticity, and everything gets a new color, a new size. And, even in the face of these difficulties, we remain steadfast, because we know that we are in line with the more subtle and powerful in all of us. And here, it comes with a fundamental question. How can we keep that connection alive in the face of the turmoil of day-to-day? How to not lose sight of the light, which we carry on, even when things seem to fall apart? The answer is discipline, dedication to self-awareness, and to create moments of reflection, and in cultivating gratitude and patience. It is in the cultivation of the journal, which we build our customer base. We have built a fortress built to withstand the storms are more frequent and more intense. And, at the same time, we learn to trust our intuition, our inner voice that always guides us to what is most true. Trust is like an anchor that keeps us steady, even when the universe seems to challenge our stability. Because, deep down, we know that it is all part of a larger process of evolution, a dance between light and shadow, which leads us to become versions of each of the time, the most authentic selves. And, in this way, you're not realizing that there are no steps are right or wrong, just the experiences that shape them, and that, if accepted with love, and on the rise. Every time, every disappointment, it's an opportunity to learn something new about who we are and who we can be. And this realization is liberating, because it takes away from the role of a victim of fate, or the circumstances and in places as well as awareness of our own history. It's a feeling of empowerment, a power that grows to the extent that we give ourselves to the process of discovery. And with each win, you get to see the true power lies in the courage to be who you really are. Courage is like a seed that, with time, it grows into a tree fort, of which the roots are rooted in authenticity, the honesty with one's own soul. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. This depth shows that the core of it is not something that is outside, or something you conquer it, but it's a dimension that has always been there, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. It is a matter of wake-up call, remind you of who we are in addition to the mask, as well as the stories that we tell ourselves. And, in doing so, we realize that the whole of the journey, with its ups and downs, its pains and joys, it has only been a preparation for this moment of self-discovery, more intense, more real. Because, deep down, all of which we look out for is an attempt to fill a void that can only be completed when we connect with this the bottom floor, and the Holy Spirit dwells in each of us. It's as if, when you look into the courage, descubracimos that we already have everything we need to be, that is the fullness of it is a matter of recognition, of acceptance, of love, of its own. And when you realize this, we can begin to understand that our true freedom lies in the ability to be ourselves, no matter what the world expects or requires. It is an act of rebellion, to be silent, the courage to be vulnerable and authentic, even if it means going against the tide. Because, deep down, we are meant to shine our authenticity, and to let our light not only of our own way, but also to those who cross our way. And it is this light that, when lit, as it is able to change everything around you, and create a new reality, where your love, compassion, and the truth will prevail. Thus, every decision, every step of the conscious, it will take us close to our friends. A lot of times, it is hidden in between the doubts and fears, but that he was always right there, waiting for us to have the courage to find it again. Says right there, I came to realize the truth. And as the light begins to shine on the way to a more intense inside the us, it is as if a veil was slowly lifted up, revealing what has always been hidden in the core of a more in-depth. It's a sense of freedom fills your chest, and a recognition of quiet that even though life has taught us to doubt of the truth has always been right there, waiting for you that you had the courage to see it. Every decision we make, however small it may seem to you, shall carry a different weight, the responsibility of aligning our actions with that of light, which, little by little, it will become our spiritual compass. And, in the process, we see that the transformation is not something that is external, but it is a journey of discovery built, where all that really matters is the connection is genuine that makes it vibrate with the things that make us feel alive. It's as if our hearts and minds, before they are silent, began to whisper the secrets that were hidden under the layers of insecurity, and this makes. And, when you listen to those promptings, we know that your true strength lies in the authenticity, and the courage to be who you truly are, without masks, or masks to try to mask our imperfections. Because, deep down, each and every one of these imperfections, and is an essential part of our growth, it's a piece of what makes up the jigsaw puzzle of our lives, more pure. And in that acceptance, the supply of what are, in fact, that is what makes the light shine through even more compelling, illuminating the paths which before seemed to be dark, full of self-doubt and fears. Every step you take, every choice is a chance to reinforce a connection with the truth. No longer guided by what others expect or what your company represents, but because of what it beats sincerely in our hearts. This is the greatest revolution that we can do to transform our view of ourselves, letting go of the judgment and embrace our history, with all its scars and the lessons learned. And in that moment, we realize that the real freedom is in your authenticity, and the courage to show the world how you really are, with all your vulnerabilities and power. Because, in doing so, we contribute to the creation of a new reality, one where your love, compassion, and the truth will prevail, and building bridges between people, raising awareness, and inspiring, far-reaching changes. And it's this authenticity that we find the greatest beauty of being human, flawed, but it's true. Thus, each of the decisions that we make on the basis of this light is a seed of hope, and an opportunity to transform not only our lives, but also of the universe around us. And then, when you realize all of this, it is clear that the journey is endless, as each new layer of discovery in more depth we find. It's like a river that never runs out, always flowing, always revealing new secrets and new opportunities. And in that flow, we find that the greatest power lies in our ability to recognize the truth that has always been within us, just waiting for us to have the courage to look her in the face. I now want to go more in depth on this subject and this connection to our inner selves, with the light that is born from within, and this is what urges us to follow, even in the face of adversity, because we all know that, right there, in that sacred space lies our greatest strength. And then, as we share our story, I want to invite you to think, and he comments that I recognize that this is the truth. And, as we go deeper in the understanding, it is clear that this is the strength that comes from within, not something that just appears out of nowhere, like a flash of brief, but is a manifestation of the whole of the journey of the self, of our own choices and quiet, and for our internal battles. It is as if, in the course of time, each and every experience, every pain, every achievement, and it was shaping up to that light, to make it more powerful and more accurate. And it is precisely in this light, many, many times, we try to hide or ignore it, for fear that it will make us vulnerable to it, for fear that she will reveal to you the things that you're not ready to accept it. But, in fact, it is our most important ally, and the lighthouse that is never extinguished, even on the darkest nights. And then, when you connect to it, we realize that all the things that seem so difficult to deal with, too heavy of a load, it begins to make sense, it turns into an opportunity for growth and transformation. Because, deep down, that inner strength shows us that we are able to surpass any limits, and that our humanity is more powerful than any circumstance, the outer, and that's the real power lies in recognizing that the light and give it to you, day after day. It is as if it had bid us a new perspective, a broader perspective on our own experience, where each and every chapter, no matter how hard it might be, he had a point. And, once you understand this, you begin to look at the past, and with the most compassionate, understanding that all of what we live in has been essential for us to become the person that you are today. This realization frees us from the weight of guilt and regrets, because we understand that each and every experience, even the most challenging, brought you a valuable lesson, and the opportunity to wake up to a version that is more authentic to ourselves. And, in the process, we learn that there is a bigger victory than to recognize this light. It is this essence that has always been there, hidden by the layers of fear, self-doubt, and insecurity. And when you finally deliver that deep emotional connection, feel the peace that is abundant, there is an assurance that you are exactly where you need to be on our journey of evolution and the discovery of self-love. The strength that arises in this connection is so powerful that it makes everything around it seem smaller, more insignificant in the sight of the magnitude of what we are capable of creating it from the inside. And this is not something you seek out, or an accomplishment that is achieved with attention to the external, but it's a reminder of who we really are, and a reminder that only comes to light when we stop to listen to the silence inside of us. It is in silence that we find the answers, that we have a grasp of our most pure, and the one that does not rely on the opinions of the validation for the external or material gain. It is a fact that the pulsating, vibrating, which connects to the universe, and the infinite possibilities that are out there for anyone who enables you to listen to that inner voice. And, in doing so, we realize that the greatest freedom is to be true to our inner selves, and in honor of that light that was born from within, and that, after it is granted, and never let to go in. And it is precisely at this point that everything changes. When we realize that our strength comes from a source that never runs out, and that is our courage is fueled by a fire that never shall be quenched, everything around you start to reflect that new understanding. To the outside world, it seemed to be just as jam-packed with obstacles, goes to look for a chance to test and build the light that dwells in all of us. And, along the way, we've learned that a true transformation happens when you stop seeking validation from outside and begin to trust in our own soul by the power that resides in our hearts and minds. Every decision, every step you take, it becomes an expression of that connection, with a reaffirmation of what we are more than that, the circumstances that surround us. We are the sum total of all our means, of the whole of the strength of the unseen. In the background, it was always there, just waiting for the moment to be reckoned with. And in this recognition, we find the freedom to be who we really are, in their purest essence, stripped of their masks, and without fear. I now want to go more in depth on this subject in this connection to our inner selves, with the light that is born from within, and this is what urges us to follow, even in the face of adversity, because we all know that, right there, in that sacred space lies our greatest strength. And then, as we share our story, I want to invite you to think, and he comments that I recognize that this is the truth. And it is precisely this discovery, it all starts to make sense, even if at times it may seem difficult to accept. Because, the truth is that when we connect with that inner light, that essence is pure, that which exists within each and every one of us, we begin to understand that our grief, and our doubts and our questions are as deep a part of the path, it is not the end of it. A journey of self-discovery, a lot of times, it is like a voyage through the turbulent sea. Each wave brings a revelation, another layer of understanding. And, while you are navigating these waters, we have discovered that what appeared to be the obstacles are, in fact, the very tools of transformation. Each and every feeling that comes up, every question that haunts us all, is an invitation to get to know each other better, and to look at the inside and with the most care, with greater courage. Because, deep down, that it prevents us from moving forward is often live in our own mind, our own internal narrative that insists on the need to reinforce the fear, the guilt, and doubt. But from the moment that we have the courage to face, to recognize our shadow, we can see that they, too, are a part of the bigger picture of our existence, and that they too have a role and a lesson to teach us. It is as if, by accepting these parts of us, they would no longer be the enemy, and if you become an ally in our evolution. And, at the same time, we realize that all of this fighting, this battle can choose to accept or reject certain kind of emotions. It is a dance that needs to be done, is a part of the process of integration. Because the only way we were able to set us free from the weight that we are carrying around for so long, the feeling that you are inadequate or that we are not worthy of happiness in life. And it is this freedom that authenticity is what gives us the power to follow, to keep on even when your world seems to come crashing down around us. It is as if, by reconnecting with that spark of the divine that is within us, in a quiet voice to say that it all makes perfect sense, you're just what we need to be, even though we have not yet fully understood. And with this understanding, the latter is what leads us to a state of inner peace, in alignment with the true you with our purpose. Because, deep down, all of the things that we are looking out, to the validation of others, in the passage, it is only an attempt to fill a void that only you can fill in all of us. It is a quest for completion, which is carried out only when we recognize our own light, our lives forever. And in that moment, life flows in a different way. The more you take, the more it is true. Each and every step that we take is driven by that invisible force, yet powerful, reminding us of who we really are. And, even in the face of these difficulties, we were able to see the beauty of the experience. We know that it is all part of the great plan of evolution. And it is this understanding that gives us the courage to go, in order to continue the journey of self-discovery, the discovery of a deeper love, one that comes from within, and it will never leave you alone. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. As it is, when you begin to realize that this invisible force is not something that is out there, but something that lives inside of you, everything changes in a way that is not enough to explain the law. It's like finding a power supply that has always been there, hidden by the layers of doubt, fear, and expectations, which we from time to time. And in that moment, you realize that this force, this essence is the very essence of life. It's a connection that goes beyond words, beyond what our senses are able to pick. It is a call to silent, to look within and see that we are much more than our actions, our accomplishments, or even in our weaknesses. We are in such a flutter, that the wave of consciousness that is vibrant, and oftentimes you just need a breather, to take a number of the way full. It brings a deep sense of peace, a sense of belonging that is not dependent on external circumstances, but it is born out of an understanding of the internal, and of a connection to something bigger, and that's always been there, waiting for us to look at it more closely. And then, when you do it, it seems to be getting a new color, a dimension that is one of the most vibrant, because we understand that every experience, every pain, every joy, and they are an essential part of this process of evolution that we are living in. No, there is no accident. It all fits together in a way that is surprising, since, on the surface, it may seem messy, chaotic, or right. When we connect with that inner strength, you start to realize that all the answers that we seek has always been inside of us, and that is the peace that we need is a daily choice we align with this higher vibration. It's as if, when you open your eyes to this truth, it's a light, soft, and steady illuminance of the ways that before seemed to be dark and unsettling, showing that the whole of the journey, with its ups and downs, it is a sacred dance of the learning process. And in this time of greater awareness, we can begin to understand that true power is not in the external, but in our ability to stay true to the essence, even in the face of the most violent storms. Because, deep down, it's all a matter of trust, on the strength of what we are, and to let it guide us, with a smooth, resistance-free, without having to fear to lose or to be vulnerable. It is a conscious surrender, a surrender of that which makes us stronger, because we can reconnect with our deeper self, the one who never leaves us, even in the darkest times. And, in doing so, we also see that, in this connection, it is not something far away or out of reach, but it's a reality that we can grow each and every day, simple actions, thoughts, more kind, and with the choices that are aligned with our essence. This is a wake-up call that changes. It has made us realize that we are on this force, the light that never turns off, even when everything around you seems to fall apart. And in this process of awakening, it is clear that the main secret lies in the simplicity of being who you truly are, without masks, without any expectations, just living up to the truth that beats in all of us. Because, at the end of the day, it all comes down to this close connection, beyond this embrace, silent, with our inner selves. And, once you understand that, life takes on a new rhythm, new melody plays softly in the background of the heart, reminding us that the greatest journey is the one you do it for, to find out that, deep down, we are all the things that we look for what's out there. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, when we dive a little bit deeper, we realize that our inner strength is not only a source of peace and light, but it is a true source of change. It is this which drives us to break down boundaries, challenge the beliefs that imprison, to create a new narrative for your life. It is like a seed that can be planted with love, with patience, and courage. It blooms into a sturdy tree, whose branches reach to the heavens, and its roots go deeper into the earth, connecting them with all the wisdom of the universe. It is a force that encourages us to look beyond the obvious, however, to question all the things that we were taught as truth, and to find out what is the real freedom lies in our ability to be authentic, to follow the call of your heart, even when the path seems unclear. And the more we surrender to this power, the more we realize that it takes us to places that not even imagine, and revealing the gifts and opportunities that were hidden under layers of fear and limitations that are self-imposed. It is a journey of self-discovery that is never done, because every time a new discovery opens the door to new opportunities, new possibilities, new levels of self-awareness. And, in the process, we learn to trust our intuition, to hear that sweet voice that always guides us in the right direction, even when everything around you seems to fall apart. This connection is deep, and if it becomes an anchor, and a never-ending source of encouragement and hope, because it reminds us that we are part of something much bigger than we can comprehend with our mind is limited. It is a breakthrough that liberates us from the illusion of separation. It was observed that, in essence, we are one with everything and everyone, which is an extension of the universal love that will never leave you alone. And the experience with this understanding, life ceases to be a constant struggle to make up a dance for the authenticity, and a celebration of our true nature. And, in it, we realize that all of what we are looking for out there, it is, in fact, an attempt to reconnect with this inner strength that has always been within us, just waiting for you to let them emerge with more strength. It's like a chord that is being played, creates an entire symphony of possibilities, achievement, and peace of mind. All of this leads us to a deeper understanding of the revolution happens when we allow ourselves to see who we really are, beyond the mask, beyond the limitations that we had, in addition to the fear of being vulnerable. Because, deep down, this is the force that dwells in us, is our essence, the purest, and a spark of the infinite that never fades away, even in the face of the most violent storms. And when we can connect with it, we found out that we will be able to transform any situation, and create a reality that is aligned with our truth, wake up to a life in the fullest, deepest, most of us. And then, when you realize all of this, it is clear that this is a journey of self-discovery is never-ending, because each and every step reveals a new layer of light into a new dimension of who we really are. So, the invitation is in to what each and every one of us, if we allow them to dive a little bit deeper, to explore this universe and the inner strength, love, and the certainty that, in doing so, we are taking a major step in order to become the best version, the version that is closer to the truth, and to free those who you really are. Because, deep down, it is all about one thing: to recognize, accept, and live with such a force that it has always been with us, just waiting for a moment of bravery to flourish. And in this moment of awakening, this changes everything, because we understand that the greatest freedom is the one that comes from within, manifesting itself in the way of love, peace, and truthfulness. And you dive deeper and deeper in the understanding of life becomes an adventure of self-discovery, a journey of constant transformation, where every time a new discovery reveals that the biggest secret to it is to simply be yourself, without fear, without a struggle, and with all the courage of one who knows that, at the bottom of this force is internal to the core of who we closer to the truth, the one who never leaves you, even when everything seems to be crumbling around us. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. And it is precisely on this point, at this moment of quiet reflection, we begin to realize that the quest for answers to the exterior too many times, it serves only as a mirror image of what is in all of us. Because, deep down, the real journey is the one that leads us on to win. Something's out there, but the one who challenges us to discover what is hidden. What can we accept out of fear, out of shame, or because of a lack of courage? And then, how much more will we allow ourselves to immerse yourself in self-discovery, the more we realize that life, with all its ups and downs, its pains and joys, it is a manifestation of a universe that is built in too many times to ignore it, as if it were in a dark room that only turns on the light when we decided to open the door with the intention of, with all their heart. Every decision we make, every thought of what you eat, it's a piece of the large puzzle that reveals who we really are, beyond the mask, beyond our expectations, which we from time to time. So, in this process of introspection, we can begin to understand that our greatest strength lies in your ability to be authentic, to show you are vulnerable without fear of being judged. This is the authenticity that seems to be so simple in theory, but it is a silent revolution from within each one of us, is a freedom that allows us to connect to a deeper truth, one that goes beyond words and concepts. It's as if, when we accept our lives, despotassimos into a new dimension of freedom where what matters is not what other people think about it, but what we know and, more importantly, what we decide to believe about ourselves. The courage to be whole, with all the faults, it's that you really can change lives, because, by doing so, we fail to be trapped in a story that is imposed on us, and we write our own story with authenticity, courage, and love. And, in this way, we see that the biggest lie that we've been taught we need to be perfect, and that we must hide our flaws in order to be accepted. But, in fact, it is the imperfection that is our beauty in the most authentic. Because, you accept our vulnerabilities, we provide the space, so that the true essence of flowers, the free of masks and conditions. And in that moment, everything seemed to be in a constant struggle turns into an opportunity to grow, to learn, to actually connect with what is deepest in ourselves and those around us. This understanding brings you a peace of mind that no one can take it away, because there is a balance between what we think, feel, and act, with a consistency that strengthens us internally, making us more resilient, more and more part of our own history. And this is where the magic happens, when we are able to see that our transformation is not dependent on external factors, such as, but to a change in its internal structure, from a conscious decision to look within, to confront our shadows, with love and compassion. Because, in doing so, we become the victims of their circumstances and to assume the role of the main protagonists of the journey. And, as we become actors, we realize that the only truth that matters is that you create from the heart, and every choice is an opportunity to reaffirm who we really are, and that true freedom comes from within, and a deep connection to the core of the most pure. In this connection, it is what keeps us strong, even when everything around you seems to come crashing down, because, deep down, we know that we are more than our pain, rather than our own faults, we are the sum of our pros and cons, and that amount is what makes us whole. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, as you explore the journey within, we discover that the biggest secret is that we have too often that is exactly what we're trying to hide it from ourselves, our own true. And this is the truth. It's like a seed that, when planted, with love, with an origin in the A-force on the possibility of self-confidence and peace of mind. It is this authenticity that we find the courage to move forward, to embrace our imperfections, and to understand that, at the core, we are made perfect in our weakness, in our journey of evolution. And so, we've learned that the greatest power we have is the one that comes from recognizing who we really are, without the mask, without the mask, without the mask. Because, in the end, it's all what we are looking for is in this connection is to be pure, sincere, and with the soul that guides us, that supports us, and it reminds us that we are all made up of light and shadow, of successes and failures, moments of doubt and certainty. And it is exactly this delicate balance, in this dance, a constant, and that is where our true freedom, one which no one can take it away, because he is born in, from the very depths of our being. And to understand this, we take the step that takes us to a life more full, more real, more of us. Says right there, I came to realize the truth. And then, when you do a lot more of the background to this understanding, we see that the freedom we seek is not something external, something that you can gain in material things or social recognition. It is, in essence, that beats within each and every one of us, a light that only comes on when we can silence the noise of the world, and the opinion of others, the expectations that have been imposed on at an early age. This freedom is born out of a genuine connection with ourself, the more true to what we are when we are alone with our thoughts, with no masks, no filters, no need to please or to fit in with a preset mold. It is in silence that we find the answer. The truth is often avoided confronting it, and it's in the quiet that we start to build a relationship is more sincere with ourselves, and gives us the strength to face a life of authenticity. A journey of self-discovery is like a journey through a sea of emotions and thoughts that often look at the swallow, but, in fact, are the waves you can learn how to surf. And that learning is about having the courage, because a lot of times it's easier to stay in your comfort zone, even if it's in a prison, the invisible, the face of the most profound and, perhaps, the most uncomfortable in all of us. But it is precisely here that it is the transformation in order to look into the inside, to realize that our wounds, our doubts, our fears, and, at the same time, our resources, our dreams, and the things that really make us tick. It is a journey of acceptance, compassion for yourself, because the only way we can free ourselves from the chains unseen, which we hold on to the past and the insecurities and limiting beliefs that have been implemented from time to time. This release is not a straight line, not a definitive conquest. It's a dance. It is a constant reinvention, a learning journal, which you can select who you want to be, each and every time. Because freedom is not the absence of obstacles, but the ability to keep your heart open, even in the face of difficulties, and to see that every challenge is an opportunity to grow and deepen in our lives. When we were able to see this fact, we find that the suffering is often born of strength, for to attempt to control everything around you, you want to make things happen the way you think. And when you realize this, you also understand that it is the greatest power lies in our attitude to life, not only in our choice of how we respond to those circumstances, not only in our ability to stand firm in what you believe, even if everything around you seems to be falling apart. At this moment, a deep understanding of it, it becomes clear that the real freedom is a state of mind, a decision to live in line with who we truly are, without masks, or masks of the social, which separate us from our inner selves. And, if you make this choice, we have a lightness that doesn't compare to nothing what the world has to offer. This is the freedom that it brings, the peace that strengthens our soul, and connect us with a sense of belonging is most true, that which comes from within, and that it is not dependent on external approval, but it is born out of a recognition of, and love for yourself. And then, in a movement of self-acceptance, authenticity, and realize that all the things that we were looking out for us, it is already here, inside, waiting to be discovered, to be experienced, to be celebrated. And that is the true secret to freedom, is that he was always at our fingertips, just waiting for us to make the expression of looking at it from the front to receive it, and allow it to transform us. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because, when you think about this interior freedom, we see that she, too, carries a great deal of influence. When one is freed from the bonds which hold us to the standards, expectations, fears, and begin to develop a new narrative for your life. Story written by us, with the lyrics to the courage, authenticity, and hope. And this narrative has the potential to impact not only our career, but also the lives around us. As us, to be free, we inspire others to do the same. With each step down the road to the truth is the seed of transformation, which, over time, it may grow into a forest of conscience awake, hearts are opened, and the souls are free. And, in it, we discover that the real power lies in the vulnerability, and the courage to express who we are of the truth, without masks, without the fear of judgment, because, deep down, we know that it is our authenticity, it is the one that actually connects us with the universe, with the infinite source of love and wisdom, who dwells in all of us. And so, as we go on this journey of self-discovery, we realize that each and every experience, even the most difficult, is essential to the shaping of this freedom that you seek. They teach us to trust our intuition and to enhance our own choices, and to understand that there is no one single recipe for to live it to the full. Each of them has its own rhythm, its nuances, its lessons are unique, and it is this diversity that is the beauty in our humanity. And it is this beauty that invites us to look into it with more compassion, to embrace our imperfections as a part of our growth, and celebrate every small victory on the journey. Because, in the end, It all comes down to this deep connection to the essence of who we are, in essence, that is never lost, only forgotten because of the distractions of the world, and of the doubts and the fear of being truly free. And, if you notice that you reach out to in order to live more fully, more in tune, more of us. Because, after all, freedom is the most powerful, is the one that comes from within, from the heart if you accept and love yourself, no matter what the world, say, or think. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. If you've come this far, it's because that's the message he spoke to you in some way, and I'm so glad to have shared that time with you. A few people come to the end, and if you're here, it's because it actually made sense for you to think about all of this. He writes that it was for me. Or, leave it in the comments, for a simple I can't make it until the end. And I know that this conversation has touched your heart as much as it has touched mine to share. These little connections to reinforce the point that we are not alone in this journey of self-discovery and transformation. If the story moved in with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Here, we sought to create a space for these exchanges to happen more and more, so you can keep on finding meaning and inspiration. And, if that history is brought to you for some insight, leave a like because that helps you for this message to reach more people who need to hear it. After all, sharing that positive energy can make all the difference, right? And, if you're curious, in order to continue, there's a video right here on the side, which complements this subject is a continuation of that. You can dig deeper on this journey of self-discovery. Click there and follow me, because your journey is just beginning. Each step is an achievement in itself, and I just want to be by your side at each and every one of them. So, remember, this journey is yours, and every reflection, every insight, this is an important piece in the big puzzle, which is to live in the truth. I got to the end because I felt the truth in every word, and I hope that you, too, have a sense for this. Now you just have to move on, because the next step is right there waiting for you.